This is my maiden flight of the ready-made RC Surfer 1500 PNP. Plug and play, so I have my own receiver in the aircraft, as the PNP does not come with a receiver or a transmitter. So I'm using the Aurora 9, high-tech Aurora 9 transmitter with an Optima 9 receiver. The Optima 9 has the longer range of the Optima series receivers. When I bought this aircraft, I did intend it to be an FPV airplane. Turns out I think it's a very good choice for that. The Optima receivers, I like those because they provide battery voltage telemetry, so that on my transmitter I can read the voltage of the flight pack on the aircraft during the flight, although I can't see it when I'm using the headset. But the transmitter will give a beeping alarm when the voltage is reduced to the set point that I've programmed into the transmitter, so that I know when it is time to land, if I have not landed already. I have that alarm set for 10.5 volts. I'm using a 3S 2200 milliamp hour battery for the flight pack, and 10.5 volts gives me, with this aircraft, probably, if it's not windy, I would say probably 10 minutes of flight time, pretty conservatively, to go around a few times if I needed to, or to make it back to the landing area. Because one thing with FPV, it's easy to get trapped into flying too far away. So here I'm at our flying field. I'm very conscious of where I am, and I keep turning back to make sure that the flying field is in sight, so I don't get too far away. A few test flights were done with this in, of course, line of sight mode, and I did not fly with the FPV gear initially. I just flew with the bubble canopy with the pilot. Found that no trim was needed. The center of gravity is very wide on this aircraft. I've had the battery actually slip toward the tail. I was doing some aerobatics and it moved toward the tail probably an inch or two, and it still had really stable flight characteristics, so that the CG is just really wide. I have it just behind the, I think it's just behind the spar as in the instructions, but it can be a little bit farther back. Half an inch back from that is not a problem at all. At least it wasn't on mine. The max flight time I found with the pilot canopy, trying to maximize flight time by just using maybe about 30 or 40% throttle to keep it in the air, straight and level, was more than 45 minutes. So I actually landed after 45 minutes because that's just plenty long. The battery was getting low. I probably could fly 50 minutes pretty easily, just dawdling around. So the flight time is very long with that battery pack, and that battery pack is an Admiral brand pack from Motion RC. It's proven to be a very good pack. I've flown it for at least a year, and I've been charging it 2C, and the pack's not puffed at all, so it's still, the pack's performing just very well. So this aircraft, it floats. It's got a very high lift airfoil, and I realized early that with the chance that it would float very well, landing could be a little bit difficult. It would tend to use up a lot of ground. to bring it down. So what I did is, when I initially built it, I wired the aileron servos separately into the receiver, and I set up a slider on the Aurora 9 transmitter as a spoiler flap control. So with the slider up, it's in spoiler mode with both ailerons up, and when the slider's down, it's in full flap mode with both ailerons down, and the ailerons can still be controlled with the stick during any position of that slider. I found that landing with full spoilers, dead stick, worked very well. It slows down and it's still easy to control. If it's windy, a little bit of throttle is not going to hurt. You always want to be ready to throw some throttle on if needed, but generally just dead stick it and just keep losing altitude and maintain that airspeed, and it'll land just perfectly, as you'll see at the end of the video. So this aircraft has a 58.25-inch wingspan, or 1,500 millimeters, and it comes with two canopies. One is for line of sight. That's the pilot canopy that's got the bubble plastic on it, the clear plastic. The other canopy is the FPV canopy, which is just it comes with the bubble that's loose, so you can mount your camera, video transmitter, anything else you'd like up front. We could probably fit two cameras in there if you wanted to shoot off the side or something like that. I have not mounted the clear canopy, so I am flying in this video with the FPV canopy. I've got a Mobius up toward the nose so far that I cannot see the nose of the aircraft. I don't like to see any of the aircraft when I'm flying or watching the video later, so it gives a nice clear view. And I have not mounted that clear canopy yet, so here I'm just flying without it. There's probably a little bit more drag, but it doesn't seem to be too extreme. I'm also flying with the optional larger propeller, 5.5 by 4.5 E. I have not tried the stock prop. I think with the additional drag and weight of the FPV, I just wanted to have a little more thrust. So I have not tested the original stock prop, but it may be just fine. I'm also using a 600 milliwatt video transmitter, which has been very rock solid for the distances I'm flying here, which are about 1,000 feet, I think, is probably the furthest distance. And the weather conditions, it's 50 degrees, 5-mile-an-hour wind. It's late in the day, the sun is setting, and when I turn into the sun, I saw the video actually go black for a second, and that was not good. When you're FPVing, you don't want to lose video ever. At least I don't. So be conscious of that. At this time of day or early in the morning, there's no alternative. You are going to have to turn, and probably will see the sun. I do have the camera angled down, maybe 8 degrees or so. I don't know. I didn't measure it, but it is angled down a little bit. And it is a little bumpy up high, so a flight stabilizer would be helpful on this, but I have not tried that yet. Here I've turned my downwind leg. I'm getting ready to land FPV. About to turn right and get on the base leg for the final approach after that. So the video would be lost anytime a solid object would be between the plane and the transmitter. And so those trees, if I fly behind those, I'll lose video. Even the smallest branch seems to block 5.8 gig video, so that's not a surprise. Be conscious of that, or you might lose the plane. My goggles also fogged up a bit. They were in my car, and they were probably at 45 degrees or so, 40 degrees. They were colder than the outside air, and they fogged up when I started wearing them. So you might want to bring your goggles to the field from your house where they're warm to start with. This plane will fly with minimal rudder and low throttle, maintain attitude very easily. It's very relaxing. And the Mobius here is also set to the narrow field of view for better depth perception. So here I come on the landing. I'm dead stick with the spoilers up and into the wind. First time I've landed FPV. I'm trying to miss the runway but be somewhat close to where I'm standing. There's a lot of grass here, so it's not a problem. And I did fly beyond the point where I wanted to land, but it was great.